All right. Good afternoon, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about our third P in our kind of analysis of the four Ps. This one is place. So today the lecture is going to follow the following roadmap. We'll be talking about like what is place and how does it fit into the broader concept of what we call channel choice. And we're going to do that through a few kind of applications, a few specific companies and their channel choices, and kind of analyzing, why they did what they did. Then we'll take that opportunity to talk about the survey results, and then we'll probably break. And then after the break, we'll talk about sort of digital marketing and e-commerce, which is a huge change in the landscape of marketing that's occurred. Is kind of everything going digital. So we'll kind of talk about what forces the movement towards a more digital economy has created for marketing, what opportunities and kind of what's shifted. Okay. And especially how it affects this choice of place. So place is sometimes called the forgotten P. I think in a lot of textbooks, actually, there is no section on place. It's rather rolled into a larger concept of what we call a marketing channel, right? So a marketing channel, you should think of as a set of interdependent organizations that help make a product or service available for use or consumption by the consumer or by the business consumer, okay? So place is not just choosing kind of where you make the product available. It's kind of this entire chain of organizations that help make it available. So, one way you can think about this is, it's not just about, getting your product to the right retail store, right? So the right sort of customer, right? Where then the consumer can access it. You're kind of choosing everything from, supplier to manufacturing to distribution is all kind of part of your channel choice, the interdependent organizations that make the product or service available. So a marketing channel, when you choose a marketing channel, it does affect where the product is eventually sold, but it also kind of the choice requires answering a lot of other questions too, right? Apart from just where should I make my product available, you also have how does it get to where it's eventually made available, right? So your distribution and logistics, right? Another thing that you really need to care about is who provides information to and who collects information from the consumers, right? So your products, other than any promotions you're doing for it, right? How do you get information about that product, right? So information, things like brand associations, things like where can I get service for this product? What even is the product, right? So who provides that information? Who in your kind of marketing channel, who amongst your partners will be doing that? Will you be doing that yourself? Or will you rely on the place that you're making it available? Or will you rely on someone else? Right? Similarly, who gets control over promoting the products and pricing of the product, right? These are two big choices that we may want to have some say in. But if depending on who we decide to be our marketing channel partner, they may completely take over all of those aspects of the marketing process, right? They might be like, okay, we have our own promotions program and we have our own pricing rules. So if you want to partner with us, if you want to make your product available at our retail front or through our channels, you need to give us control, right? Similarly, who provides the service and the after-sale care for the products, and who finances the product during its development, right? These are all different roles that kind of have to do with the choice of the marketing channel. And most companies don't do all of this in-house. Some do, but most rely on external partners to help them do at least some of these things, right? So we're going to kind of analyze the choice of a marketing channel using three examples. So the first example is this product here. So this product, a Duo, it's a turntable with a detachable Bluetooth speaker. Okay. So this is a product that plays music. It plays music that's stored on these big black CD looking things, which are vinyl discs. So if you have a vinyl collection, then you can put it into this device and it'll play it, and it'll play it through this Bluetooth speaker, this kind of yellow box that's attached. Okay, so this is their product. It's a music listening product. Now, Duo, they have a product. It's all well designed. They've chosen all of its features. And in terms of making it available, they chose to launch through this website called Kickstarter. Okay, now if you don't know what Kickstarter does, feel free to kind of navigate to their front page while I'm talking. But Kickstarter is a website where consumers can search through products and they can back products by promising some money. Okay, so if you promise money to this product, then nothing happens until the product reaches a funding threshold, which is set by the product creators, right? And if the funding threshold is reached or exceeded, so the amount of money that they get from backers exceeds that threshold, then it's funded. And when that happens, consumers pay their promised contribution. The creator gets the promised contributions, and eventually, they should receive the product according to a timeline that the product creator has set. Okay, so anyone can post a photo and a product description on Kickstarter and ask for backers, but Kickstarter is a particular channel choice for releasing a product, right? Duo chose Kickstarter. Okay, so let's look at these kind of 8 ways in which channel partners add value. And then we're going to walk through, this particular product and this particular website and see, okay, what are the ways in which Kickstarter is adding value for Duo, and what are the ways that they're not helping Duo, that Duo has to do it themselves. Okay, so channel partners can provide information to consumers, and they can gather information from consumers. So information provision, this can be details of the product, or it can be things like the association with the Kickstarter brand, right? By being associated with Kickstarter, by launching on Kickstarter, that will create a certain perception in consumers' minds about the product, right? So information provision and information gathering. Then you have the promotion, like who's doing the promoting. Marketing strategy is who's doing segmentation, targeting, and positioning. The manufacturing of the product, the physical distribution of the product, getting it from the factory to the warehouse to the consumer, or from the factory to the warehouse to the store. Then financing, right? Financing could be, who is helping to fund the sort of initial inventory of the product before it starts actually getting sold and making money. Or it could be financing on the consumer side, right? Are you helping consumers afford this product? Like, are you offering them a pay as you go or something like that? Channel partners can also help with risk taking, and they can also help with after sales support, right? So providing service. So why choose Kickstarter as your channel, right? Why would Duo choose Kickstarter? Okay, well, let's learn a little bit more. When you go to the Kickstarter page and you go to their turntable, you can see there's all these different pieces of information, right? So this is Duo, you see the about, and then kind of you'll also see here, there's like, an FAQ, there's updates, there's comments, community. So there's all this kind of information provided on the Kickstarter website about Duo. So consumers can gather information, right? And the website gets a lot of traffic, so potentially you're reaching a lot of consumers. All right, what else? So when you go to back the projects on a Kickstarter, at the time that I took the screen cap, this is what I saw. So you can see that there's a certain amount of money, 105,000 Canadian dollars, pledged of $26,000 goal. So that goal number is the amount of backers that they need to fund the project, right? That's the amount of contribution they need to fund the project. They have 319 backers, 17 days to go. Okay. So what's this? This is Kickstarter helping or providing the tool for financing of the project, right? The people who make Duo, they don't need to take out a bank loan and then manufacture a bunch of these products and then hope that they sell. Instead, what they do is consumers or backers contribute the money upfront, and then they use that money to produce their initial run of products, right? So they kind of make their money upfront and then they spend it to actually deliver the product, right? This is arguably the key benefit of launching through Kickstarter. Yeah, it's exactly like pre-selling, or it's similar to pre-selling. We'll kind of discuss in a few slides, maybe a way that it's different. But yeah, you can think of it as the money you give the money up front, and then the firm delivers the product, in 6 months or a year or however long it takes them to actually manufacture it and distribute it. Right? So key benefit, the financing. Right? What else does Kickstarter allow you to do? So here's what some different backing options look like. So you don't get to choose exactly how much you want to pay. Duo gets to set these different options, right? So you can pledge $229. And if you do that, then what do you get? You get the Duo turntable and you get the protection cover, right? So you get these two different things. If you pledge $299, then you get the Duo turntable and the Bluetooth speaker and the protection cover, right? So you spend a little bit more money and you get a little bit more, right? So different prices, different products made by the same company. What do we call that? When the same company is kind of offering different products at different prices. Yeah, it's segmentation, right? So we have different segments. Some people want more stuff and they're willing to pay more. And that's who this $299 option is for. Okay. So you allow for a little bit of segmentation, and you also allow for a bit of price discrimination, right? What's this? You pledge $6,270, then you'll get 30 Duo turntables. And that's kind of a cheaper price per turntable than if you buy them separately, right? So what's that? That's price discrimination, volume discount, right? So that would be second-degree price discrimination. So Kickstarter allows you to do a bit of segmentation, a little bit of price discrimination. So these are kind of the main things that Kickstarter is providing: information, tools to segment, and tools to finance, right? And now, what does Kickstarter not do? So when I searched for Duo turntable with detachable speaker, what we can see is the top link is Kickstarter. That's good, but that's an organic link, right? There's no sponsored links here for the Duo. There's some sponsored links for other things on the right-hand side. And there's some YouTube videos about people reviewing this product, but there's no advertisements, right? There's no sponsored links for Duo. Kickstarter does not promote for you. So Kickstarter will not kind of do a marketing campaign to promote your product. Right? They'll provide information on their website. So if people come to their website, they can learn, but they're not going to actively run ads or do anything like that. So you can promote the products, but you need to do it yourself. Okay, what else? So when you go to the page, the Duo page, and you read about the creators, they have this little thing posted, risks and challenges. So this is from the perspective of the company that makes Duo. They say, we understand there'll be risks along the journey, but we're experienced, prepared, and have laid solid production grounds. We've built a reliable production and logistics network. Okay. So they say we've built a reliable production and logistics network. So Kickstarter, are they helping with production and logistics? They're not, right? This is something that's being taken care of by the creators of Duo, Kickstarter won't help you manufacture your product, right? And who is in charge of getting the Duo to consumers, right? Okay, so you have to manufacture it yourself, right? Good, so you've picked your factory and you've manufactured it. Will Kickstarter help you get your product to the final consumer? So if we go back to this description, it says we've built a logistics network, right? Production and logistics, right? Logistics means delivery, right? So the team behind Duo is responsible for delivery. So Kickstarter provides no support, right? There's no help from Kickstarter getting the product from the factory to consumers, right? You need to arrange for the shipping of the product, and it can be either directly, directly to consumers' homes or to some intermediate place, right? So you need to decide who do you pick to provide shipping services, because Kickstarter doesn't help you there. Right? Okay. All right. So here now we have this accountability section from the FAQ section. So this is from the company Kickstarter. This is no longer from Duo. So Kickstarter has all these questions that you might want to have answered if you buy something on their website. So suppose you buy the Duo and it breaks, right? This product doesn't work. So which of these links in the Kickstarter FAQ will provide you with assistance? Where can you go to get help to replace your product or to get it fixed? Yeah, in this case, it's going to be from Duo or from the creator of the product, right? In fact, here we see Kickstarter can't guarantee projects. Kickstarter doesn't guarantee a product post-launch. They don't provide any sort of service, right? So if it doesn't work like it's supposed to, Kickstarter says, well, that's too bad, but that's between you and the creator of the product. Xinyi, if the dollar goal is not reached on the set date, backers get their money back. That's a feature of the Kickstarter platform. Some of these crowdfunding platforms, they don't give you the money back, even if it doesn't reach the goal. I think on some of these platforms, like maybe Indiegogo, you can kind of just set the contributions to be, you get them even if it's not reached. But with Kickstarter, you get them back if it's not reached. So Kickstarter actually doesn't guarantee that the product gets delivered at all, right? So even if the funding goal is reached, and you give the creator of Duo your money, there's no guarantee that you're going to get the product delivered to you. They could just take the money and leave, right? So Kickstarter doesn't provide any help to the consumer there. So after sales support is provided by, so this is the team behind Duo. You can find it on, kind of their Kickstarter page. So they have 2 people who provide customer service, and this cat. So there's a lot of people on staff who do other things, right? Engineers, marketing managers, supply chain managers, graphic designers. There's someone who operates their store on Tmall, which is a kind of Chinese e-commerce website. And they have operational promotion. And then they have 2 people for customer service. So clearly, Duo is doing a lot of stuff themselves, right? Stuff that Kickstarter is not doing, Duo needs to do themselves, right? So Kickstarter has kind of helped with these things, right? They've been able to provide some information to consumers, right? By allowing the product to sort of have all this information on the Kickstarter website. They've helped provide financing by giving this tools for crowdfunding. They've helped with some risk taking, right? So you don't need to take out a bank loan and hope that you can sell your products, right? Everything else they don't help with, right? So this channel choice, why did they make this particular channel choice? Well, they clearly thought that the financing and the information provision aspects were more valuable, and having to do all these other things themselves, they didn't mind doing. Okay, so that's the Duo. Let's look at another product. So here's another product in kind of the music space. So House of Marley is a brand that debuted about like 9-10 years ago. And they kind of have this Marley name. So Bob Marley is a famous singer. So it's kind of got that recognition. And Marley kind of made a very different choice for their audio products, for their headphones. They also sell a turntable, right? Just like Duo. Does anyone know where can you purchase House of Marley speakers and headphones? Not through Kickstarter, right? So a Fido store, yeah, Best Buy, you can get them there. Online, yeah, from the House of Marley website and from the Best Buy website. Yeah, I think they should be at Walmart as well. So very different, right? As opposed to just going on Kickstarter. Here with House of Marley, you can buy these headphones directly from their website. I think this is the same headphone set, but a little bit more expensive at Best Buy. So their channel choice, like let's focus on the Best Buy option, right? So they chose not to kind of go through something like Kickstarter, but to partner with a giant retail company. Yeah. So why go with Best Buy? What were the advantages for House of Marley for going with Best Buy? And kind of as we talk through it, think about those 8 ways that the channel partner can provide value, and think about, okay, which of those ways is Best Buy actually providing value to House of Marley? Right? So some advantages. Right? So if you partner with Best Buy, then they can gather information, they can combine it with their kind of huge customer database. So they can learn a lot about your consumers, right? What products do they like? What products do they not like? And they can also provide information to consumers, right? So there's the information of the brand association with Best Buy, right? So this is kind of an electronics product, a high quality product. And they can also provide information because their sales staff will be trained to know about the products, right? What else? So Best Buy promotes, right? We see ads for Best Buy all the time, not just on TV and on the internet, but in a Best Buy store, you'll see promotions, coupons or discounts or things like that, right? In terms of physical distribution, Best Buy takes care of that too, right? You don't need to get the product to the final consumer. You might not even need to get it to a warehouse, right? Best Buy can basically take care of shipping it to their warehouse and then from their warehouse to their retail stores, right? Best Buy also assumes a lot of risk. So when you sell through Best Buy, you're not selling directly to the consumer, you're selling to Best Buy. So Best Buy buys this product from you, they keep it as inventory, and then they sell it on to consumers. So whether or not the inventory they buy ends up selling or not, that's their problem, right? That's their risk. By selling to them directly, you don't need to assume that risk. Okay, what else does Best Buy do? So they have this thing called Geek Squad. Does anyone know what Best Buy Geek Squad does? Yeah, they fix things, right? They help repair your products, right? So if you have an issue with the product, if it breaks, potentially the Geek Squad will be able to help it, right? So they provide customer care. They provide post-sale service, right? Best Buy takes care of that for you, right? So when we look at, okay, what are all the ways that Best Buy helps? For House of Marley, they provide this information gathering and distribution. they provide promotion, and they help with marketing strategy, right? They have all this information about consumers, so they can help target the right ones and segment the consumers. They don't help you manufacture and they don't help you finance, right? So that's a big difference compared to Kickstarter, right? With Kickstarter, they helped you finance. Best Buy does not. But Best Buy takes care of almost everything else. So when we're thinking about this trade-off, we can often think of a trade-off between kind of doing it yourself, which could mean going through a website like Kickstarter, could mean taking out a bank loan and trying to sell directly, versus kind of trying to partner with a retail store, right? So with a retail store, yeah, so Jeremy asks, the risk is that the retailer can drop them, definitely. If you're only relying on Best Buy for your sales, then you're giving them a lot of negotiating power, right? Your best alternative to Best Buy is nothing, right? They're your one customer, right? So when they negotiate with you on the price, they're probably going to negotiate a very low price that you have to sell to them at, right? Which could mean that it's important for you to set up other business partners as well, right? Just so you have other options to sell through. Yeah, definitely a big risk. So the benefits of a distributor kind of have to do with this concept of economies of scale. So what is an economy of scale? Economy of scale is the idea that the more you do something, the cheaper it gets per unit to do that thing, right? So the more quantity you make, the cheaper is the average cost per unit, right? Or the more service you provide, the cheaper is the average cost per unit of service, right? So the idea behind a distributor, behind someone like a retail partner, is a firm that's handling activities for many, many products can do it more efficiently, right? Why? Because they have economies of scale. The more products they're handling, the cheaper it is for them to handle it per product. And that's because of the presence of fixed costs, right? So a fixed cost is a cost that doesn't depend on the quantity of product or intensity of activity, right? You have to pay it no matter what. So a classic fixed cost would be something like the rent on a warehouse, right? If you want to do your own distribution, right? And you want to set up your own distribution network, well, you need to, very first thing, like rent a warehouse where your products would be shipped to, so that then from there, you would take care of shipping them out. So paying for that warehouse is a fixed fee that you pay regardless of how many units you're shipping. If you ship a lot of units, then the cost of the warehouse is spread out over many, many units, and the average cost of shipping those units has gone down. But if you have very few units, then the average cost is quite high, right? Because only a few number of units, and you still have this big fixed cost of paying the rent, right? So economies of scale arise when there's large fixed costs. And for big distributors, for big retail partners, they've basically already incurred these fixed costs. So adding additional units, for them, it doesn't matter too much. Whereas for you, you'd have to pay these fixed costs yourself. So the general trade-off is, if you think it's worthwhile to do it yourself, that you're going to sell a ton of units because then you'll be able to cover your high fixed costs, then you should do it yourself, right? If you do it yourself, you pay this high fixed cost, but you'll also be earning a lot of profit on each unit, right? Because you won't have to take, Best Buy's offer of how much they're willing to pay, and then they sell it to the consumer and get their own margin, right? You get the entire margin of selling to the consumer, right? So if you're going to be selling a lot of products, then it's okay. You can kind of bear the high fixed costs. If you don't think you're going to be selling that much, then you might think, okay, I want to partner with someone at first because I don't need to pay any sort of fixed cost. They've already paid all of it. I'm not going to be making much on each unit sold, but that's okay because I don't have much fixed cost to cover before I start making a profit, right? So if you're small, if you think you're going to be small, kind of do it through a distributor. If you think you're going to be big, then potentially doing it yourself, right? So I think Duo really thought that they were going to be big, right? They thought that they would sell a lot because they had this huge team, right? They had 30 employees and they had 2 customer care specialists. So they must have thought they were going to sell a lot of these turntables, right? To make it worthwhile to hire all that staff, to invest all that money in getting the product up and running, right? So what they did, Duo, was an example of what's called disintermediation. So selling directly online means choosing a marketing channel without having a physical retailer like Best Buy, right? So basically what you're doing is you're skipping the step of having a store. You go right from distribution to the consumer without going through a Best Buy or something like that, right? And this is an example of disintermediation, which reduces kind of the number of steps in that marketing channel, that supply chain, right? You're getting rid of the middleman, you're getting rid of an intermediary between producers and consumers, right? So Duo directly through Kickstarter, House of Marley directly through the website. These are examples of a disintermediated marketing channel strategy, okay? Now, disintermediation is very popular these days. But the thing about disintermediation you need to realize is it doesn't remove channel activity. So all of those things, all those questions that we talked about answering, for instance, who's providing service? How is the product getting to your consumer? Who's financing the product? All of these things still need to be answered, right? And just because you're cutting out the retailer doesn't mean they don't need to get done. They do still need to get done. You just need to kind of do a lot more of them yourself, okay? All right. Sounds like someone might have their microphone on. Perfect, okay. So Boyang asks, what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of that? So if you're doing things yourself, then you're getting that higher margin, right? So you're earning a bit more money per unit because you're going right from kind of the manufacturer to the consumer, right? The disadvantages of doing it yourself are all these things, providing service, after sales support. If you're providing a product and it breaks, right? How do you provide support? Say you're kind of a smallish company and you've decided to do it all yourself, right? Do you handle it kind of all online with like a chat bot? Do you have someone hired who picks up the phone like Duo does? And what do you guarantee? Do you allow them to ship it back and you can replace it for free, right? What's your policy on that? You have a lot of choices to make. If you don't feel like you can make all these choices, then you should partner with someone who'll basically take care of that for you. And the way that you're kind of paying for that is by having a lower margin, right? Same thing, like if you don't think you'll be able to reach your target segment because you don't have any information on them, like where are they, where do they shop, right? When do they have the thought to buy? You have no idea. Then again, going through a partner, they can help you with that. Yeah, some companies just don't have the ability to do disintermediation, right? So one thing about like, say, a channel partner like Amazon is, you can, it's like, if we think about a small company selling on Amazon, right? What does Amazon help with? Say you have a product, you're having it manufactured, you're doing some kind of like drop shipping style business, right? So Amazon can help with information gathering and distribution. Amazon can help with promotion, right? If you ask them to, then they can set up their algorithm to decide, okay, when should you kind of raise price and lower price? They can help with strategy. They don't help with manufacturing. Probably one of the main things that Amazon helps with is physical distribution, right? So by doing sort of the fulfilled by Amazon, Amazon will help you kind of get that like 1 day free delivery thing, right? But they won't help with financing. They won't help with risk taking. They kind of help with after sales support, right? Because free returns are a thing, but only for sold by Amazon products, right? some products that are sold on Amazon by third parties, Amazon doesn't help provide after sales support, right? So if you're small, you may want to go through Amazon. And really there, your decision is, should it be kind of fulfilled by Amazon or should it not be fulfilled by Amazon? Right? Yeah, great question. So let's kind of look at this company that I asked you guys to analyze, Huawei, a large smartphone manufacturer with kind of a very big presence in China and in a lot of kind of East Asian and African countries, but not a big presence in Canada, right? So we have a large market share. They're thinking of selling smartphones to the Canadian market, and they can either do it directly via online ordering or through a Bell store or Rogers store, right? Kind of our standard telecom companies in Canada for getting phones, right? So most of you said indirect, intermediated. Some of you said direct. So let's start with some of the people who answered indirect. More popular answer. So is Anqi Ju here?
Yes, Professor.
Hi, so you chose indirect. Can you explain why you decided on that?
Yes, because I think Huawei do not have a large market share in Canada, and the Canadians may don't know about Huawei. So if Huawei takes direct marketing, and I think people will not buy a phone from the brand that they don't know. And if Huawei sells smartphones through intermediate like Bell store, and if like the Bell have the plan with Huawei, and people may buy the phone in Bell store because people trust the Bell store. So
Perfect.
maybe Huawei can sell more smartphones in Canada.
Okay, great. So thanks, Anqi. So the main benefits you see from Bell are they provide information about kind of this brand and from a trusted source. So you have that good brand association.
Yeah.
And then they also maybe help with financing, right? So when people buy the phone in a Bell store, they can pay through their phone plan instead of having to buy it all at once.
Right.
Something like that. Okay, awesome. All right, thank you. So I'll ask maybe Pei.
Yes, Professor.
Hi, so do you have kind of anything to add to that answer about sort of why indirect was the right choice for Huawei?
Yes, because I think it will be easier for Huawei to enter the Canadian market because there are already many mature brands and professional products inside the market. So if choosing indirect marketing will help the firm in advertisement, and also it will be easier for consumers to accept this new brand for them.
Okay, so maybe some promotional help from Bell so that people can actually learn that the product is out there. And then again, like information provision, like Bell is like a trusted source, the brand association would be good.
Yes,
something
so
like
that will help them increase their sales as well.
You said a little bit about competition as well. So how do you feel kind of Bell helps deal with like the fact that there's a lot of other phone brands out there?
Yes, since there are other competitors in the Canadian market, so I think it will be better for them to let the consumers to know about the brand for them. So they need to build a brand first and then advertise their product. Then that will be easier for them to make more sales.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Pepe. So yeah, I think
problem.
If we're trying to get the phone into consumers' consideration sets, right? If people are already kind of focused on a small number of phones, I think, when people go into a Bell store, they see the phones that are there and kind of often they'd be choosing from that set of phones, right? So if you kind of have it in that store already, it's almost like in the consideration set for consumers. I see Boyang's hand is up.
Yep. I feel like I can add on something that is like kind of different. So
Sure.
I was thinking between some, I was actually thinking something else. So like, I feel like Huawei like really has the disadvantage of selling smartphone in North America, like all the peers has been talked about, like because like Huawei is still not like fully supported with like the Google services, right? And so like just by entering the if we use like direct marketing to enter the Canadian market, is probably not too not wise of a decision. However, like if we use like indirect marketing, Huawei can actually get hands off from the situation, and so probably it will be less pressure for them. And because like Huawei still has a huge fan community in Canada. However, it might just be a small community, but like the group of people are does still exist. Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting point. So if I understand correctly, your thought is that Huawei's brand association might be a bit negative right now in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so by having Bell take care of the promotion advertising, it becomes more of a Bell thing and not the negative association.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Very good. All right, so good. So now let's go to the direct marketing option. So yeah, Bell definitely provides a lot of help, but what might be a good reason not to go with Bell? Is Judy here? Okay, so it looks like maybe Judy is going to type in chat. All right, so then while she's doing that, okay, so Huawei is a mature company. They have a large customer base, and they can omit the intermediary and to reduce the costs and kind of save delivery time. So, okay, so basically this idea of like a higher margin and more control over the logistics, right? So maybe get people phones quicker and make more money on each phone that they sell. Good. And let's see. Is Ife here?
Yeah, I'm here. I think
yeah.
Huawei is a large company in the world, and they have ability to open official store in Canada. So I think Huawei does not need to sell their smartphones by distributors because it will cut their profits a lot.
Okay, so a margin argument. Their profits will be higher if they sell it themselves.
Yes.
I mean, okay, very good. So is there anyone else who answered for direct marketing, or who kind of has a thought different than the ones we've heard already about why direct might be the correct choice? So consumer can have a good experience with Huawei. So if Huawei, or if Huawei partners with Bell, and Bell is kind of selling their phones, what sort of price do you think Bell would set for the Huawei phone? Do you think it would be priced at a premium phone, as an average phone, or as more of a budget phone? Kind of an average phone? Yeah. What's Huawei's reputation in China? Is it average or premium? Both. Okay, so I'm seeing like the Bell positioning seems like it would be positioned as average. And then in China, though, it's maybe positioned more as premium and average, right? So at the upper end of average. So if you give Bell the power to set the pricing, they might take the decision that this is kind of an average phone, not a premium phone. And that would create a separate brand reputation for Huawei, right? So yeah, it'll depend on kind of the specific product. But for Huawei, if what you want is to enter Canada and say, you know, this is a phone that has as many features, can perform as well as, you know, the flagship phones for Samsung or for Apple, and then having Bell basically say, you know, we're going to price this as an average phone, or as like a, you know, a budget phone, that's not what Huawei would want, right? They would be giving up their brand identity based on what Bell thinks is the right choice, right? So Bell's decision does need to take in manufacturing costs. So it would be a negotiation, right? Like Huawei wouldn't have the power to set their price. They would have to negotiate what kind of price they would want Bell to set. And Bell would have power in that negotiation to say, you know, to move it away from Huawei might think what Huawei might think is the correct choice, right? Same thing with promotion, right? How should Bell promote the Huawei phones? Huawei might have thoughts about that, but Bell might have different thoughts, right? So while Bell can provide these services, which might be valuable enough to partner with Bell, right? The distribution, the sales support, the promotion, it might also not be worth it, because if you pick Bell, then you're going to give up a lot of control over your pricing, your promotion, and potentially even your product, right? Perfect. So kind of to wrap up this section on channel, those were kind of our three examples. So to kind of wrap up this section on channel choice, so Best Buy is a place where you can get House of Marley. You can also get House of Marley speakers and headphones at the source. And that makes sense. These are products to listen to music. They're electronic items. They're potentially high priced. So you can get them at an electronics store. Okay, so here's two other stores you can get a House of Marley product. HMV, that's a music store, or just kind of media store, I guess you'd say now. Staples is an office supply store, but they still sell computers and electronics, right? So these kind of make sense too. They're getting a little bit further away from, you know, an electronics product. But then you get to this, right? So you can get House of Marley products at some Loblaws and at Shoppers Drug Mart, right? So when you think about House of Marley, and you think that, oh, here's a headphone that I can get at Shoppers Drug Mart, it doesn't make you feel like this is a premium headphone, right? So Shoppers Drug Mart is not for people who want a premium audio experience. That's not where they go first. So House of Marley kind of chose multiple channels, and they may have chosen multiple channels to improve their bargaining position with Best Buy so that they're not locked into one retailer. But they've chosen so many channels that potentially their brand is getting perceived not as a premium product or as a unique product, but as like, you know, just kind of an average necessity product, right? A convenience product. Compare that with another company, Bose. So Bose also sells audio equipment, but they only sell it at Bose premium outlets and a few other select stores, including Best Buy, but they don't sell them at Shoppers Drug Mart, right? So for Bose, you know, their choice is a much narrower range of stores, right, to sell at. Versus this brand, IKEA, you can only get IKEA products from IKEA, right? So IKEA is responsible for making its products, for shipping its products, for advertising, for gathering information on consumers, for providing after-sale care. IKEA does everything, right? And you can only get their products in this one place, right? So what kind of distributions do these different options represent? Well, we have House of Marley, who decided to stock their product in as many outlets as possible. So they chose as many channel partners as they could, and they kind of went wide. Versus Bose chose selective distribution, where they select a set of retailers that specialize in their specific product category. Versus exclusive distribution, which is where you give the rights to distribute your products to just one retailer or one retailer per geographic territory. Right? So I have these different options for setting up your marketing channels. Beyond, do I partner with a retail store or not? There's how many retail stores do I partner with, right? And we can kind of see there's a trade-off between your brand value, right? How do people perceive your brand? Is it exclusive? Is it a shopping product? Versus is it a convenience product? Is it just kind of an average thing, right? So you have that trade-off in how you're sort of deciding how to choose your distribution. And then you also have the trade-off of, is it too risky to only sell through one retailer, right? What if they decide to renegotiate and give me a much lower price, right? I might need to widen it to get a better bargaining position. Okay, so it's 2:01. So we're going to break here till 2:11. I'll stay on in chat. And yeah, we'll meet back in 10 minutes. All right, it's 2:11. Let's get back to it. So I've shown some kind of parts of brand logos here on this first slide. So have you guys been able to guess what these different brands are? Yeah, I've got MasterCard, Uber. When it says LinkedIn, yeah, that's this one. Does anyone know the bottom left one? Yeah, middle one is Alibaba. Bottom left, EEE. New York Times. Yeah. And then, yeah, Alibaba. And then bottom right, we have eHarmony. Right, so all E. We'll come back to these guys at kind of like halfway through this second part of the lecture. But they're all e-commerce. So electronic commerce is hard to define. Here I'm going to use a definition from a professor at Rotman, Avi Goldfarb, who's written a lot about electronic commerce, sort of the digital transformation of the economy. He also writes about AI and other cool stuff, so check him out. But he defines electronic commerce as being the exchange, distribution, or marketing of goods or services over the internet. Okay, so it's more than just stuff sold online, right? Electronic commerce is not just, stores like Amazon. It's not as much as all business and trade that's conducted by fax and email, but it's somewhere in between. Okay, so let's look at another case study. Here we have a brand called Hubble. Does anyone know Hubble or use Hubble? Not really. No Hubble users here. So Hubble makes contact lenses. So they have a subscription model where, if you want contacts, you can get the first month for free, and then you subscribe for monthly shipments of disposable contacts, and you can cancel at any time, right? So the idea is that they're a direct marketing contact lens company. Their products are not stocked in stores. They ship directly from the manufacturer to either the warehouse or even all the way just to the consumer, right? So Hubble engaged in disintermediation, right? They're not trying to sell their contact lenses in Shoppers Drug Mart. You can only get them directly, okay? So good, so that was their kind of channel choice. And presumably they thought that they would get really, really big, right? That they would kind of dominate the market for contact lenses, which clearly, based on the chat, they have not. But let's ask ourselves, what costs did e-commerce reduce to enable this disintermediation, right? To enable this sort of business model. So here I have a quote from the New York Times that says, after many nights and weekends of emailing Asian manufacturers and reading up on FDA compliance, the vision of a viable business was coming into focus. Okay, very nice. So when we look at this, we see, okay, yeah, like these guys put in a good amount of work. The creators of this company put in a good amount of work to try to figure out how to get their contact lenses manufactured and make sure that they were obeying the regulations, okay? FDA, that's Food and Drug Administration. That's the United States regulation agency that regulates, that writes kind of all the laws and the guidelines for, food, things like medical devices, like contact lenses, right? So FDA compliance, that means that they're trying to obey the regulations in the United States. We see that they emailed, right? So there's a reduction in communication cost. So that's something that, before the internet, you couldn't have emailed. You would have had to pick up the phone. You may have been speaking different languages, so you may have needed a translator, versus with email, Google is automatically translating everything for us now. So email and these other digital technologies have reduced communication costs. right? So these people are based in the United States, but they're emailing Asian manufacturers, right? So how did two people, it's two guys who started this company, how did they find these Asian manufacturers? Well, they must have searched them out somehow, right? And where would they have found them, right? Maybe on a directory, or maybe on just doing kind of Google searches, or maybe they found someone by searching online who could put them in touch, right? But either way, we can see that the internet played a crucial role by reducing the costs of finding a manufacturing partner, right? And the key thing being in Asia, right, where labor costs are lower, that they could produce it at a cost that they could be competitive, right? Lastly, they read up on Food and Drug Administration compliance, right? So again, this is a reduction in search costs. To comply with regulations is typically very difficult. You might have to look up these regulations in a big book, make sure that a lawyer reads it, make sure that you kind of understand what's being said. But you know, with sort of the digital transformation of the economy, these regulations are posted online. You can find very easily what's the relevant section for something like contact lenses, right? So you have a reduction in search costs and a reduction in the barrier to starting this new business. So when we think about this sort of disintermediated business model, we can really think like, yeah, e-commerce really helped this along, right? This reduction in search costs and communication costs allowed them to do this business model, right? The disintermediated business model is not new though. So here's a company called Land's End. They've never had a storefront. All of their product is sold via catalog. So you'd receive this big catalog in the mail with a bunch of products listed and a bunch of prices, and then you would mail in your money and which products you wanted, and then they would send you the products, right? So disintermediation is not new, but there are some additional differences between that old style of disintermediation, disintermediated selling, and the new style of disintermediated selling. So, you know, for instance, it was a lot easier for them to get set up, right? But there's other differences too, right? So e-commerce has enabled easy data collection, and they've also affected something called menu costs. E-commerce has affected menu costs. What are menu costs? It's the cost of changing prices, right? So that's an interesting thing to think about, the cost of changing prices. Well, you can see it very easily with Land's End, right? They send out their giant magazine full of products and prices. If they want to change a price, they need to print a new magazine and send it out, right? That's expensive. For them, the cost of changing prices is the cost of printing and distributing their new catalog. The reason it's called menu costs is it comes from sort of restaurants. If they want to change their prices, they need to print out a new menu, right? E-commerce has reduced menu costs to almost nothing, right? If you're Hubble, you can easily change your costs, the price by just kind of changing, you know, just typing into your computer, right? Or by tweaking the algorithm that sets your prices, right? So e-commerce has reduced menu costs. So why is that useful? Well, now companies like Hubble can respond to demand. If there's demand shocks, like a big positive demand shock that could raise their prices, or if there's a big negative demand shock, meaning fewer people want their stuff, they could lower prices, right? Or you can think about it allows them to respond to their own changing costs, right? If the cost of shipping from their Asian manufacturing plants to North America goes up, they may want to raise the price, because if they're no longer making a profit, they would need to increase the price to increase their margin, right? They can do that very easily, right? So being able to be flexible, not having to pay these costs to change your prices is a huge advantage. So this was from the kind of company side. This is kind of what e-commerce has enabled, you know, reducing search costs and reducing menu costs from the company side. Let's look at it from the consumer side, right? So here we see the Amazon page for a product. The product is a French press. French press is in this kind of coffee pot that you can use to make coffee. Okay, so you put in the ground coffee and some hot water, and then you let it brew. Okay, so you can get this product on Amazon, and you can also get it on, at a store like Canadian Tire. So let me ask you guys, what are the differences between, say, this page where you see the French press versus going to Canadian Tire and seeing the French press on the shelf in front of you? What are the differences? So generally there's more information. Good, but what kinds of information specifically? What do you see here that you wouldn't see if you were looking at this at Canadian Tire? Yeah, reviews, right? The star ratings, and you can click and see what people have written, right? So that's information that you really want to know, right? Do people actually like this product? This is a good product. Can't get that at Canadian Tire, right? What else? Yeah, frequently bought together, right? So you see, okay, if you like this, then you might also want to get this other thing, right? They go well together, right? So it's suggesting additional things for your shopping cart, right? What else? If you're at Canadian Tire, can you find alternative prices for this product very easily? Answer is probably not, right? You'd have to take out your phone and do a bunch of work, right? Here, you can compare offers on Amazon easily, right? They'll show you all the different sellers that are selling this exact same product, right? One thing that's true about both places is that you'll see the price and you'll see if it was marked down from its sticker price. But you do get a ton of other information on Amazon. And you also get a very easy system for going to find other products, right? Once you've purchased this one or added it to your cart, you don't have to walk somewhere. You can very easily just jump to a different category of product, right? What we see here is a reduction in the search costs, in the cost of searching for all kinds of information, for quality information, for suggested additional products, for price information, and the cost of searching for additional products on your shopping trip, right? The costs of searching have gone way, way down from the perspective of a consumer, right? So if you put things in your cart at Amazon and you kind of put them in the cart and you forget about them and you come back to them later, you might see messages like this, right? 17 items in your saved items have changed price, okay? So we see here, price histories. We see, has the price gone up compared to when I originally put it in my cart? That's a reduction in search costs too, right? So reduction in search costs, because you might want to know, well, what did the price used to be? Am I getting a good deal now? Right? Don't see that at Canadian Tire. There's something more too. You wouldn't see these kinds of price changes in a store, right? So what's weird about these prices compared to the kind of prices you would see at, say, Canadian Tire? Yeah, they don't follow the 99 rule. The decimals are weird. They look like they're made by bots. Yeah, that's probably true. They're probably being set by an algorithm, right? So you wouldn't see these kinds of price changes in a store, but why not, right? So why are the bots setting prices on Amazon and not at Canadian Tire? Canadian Tire also tracks a good amount of data, right? They also see a lot of purchases at different prices. but why doesn't Canadian Tire change its prices like this? Yeah, menu costs, right? It's a lot easier to change prices electronically than in store, right? If Canadian Tire had maybe electronic displays of the prices for each product, then potentially they would be willing to change their prices very quickly, but that's very expensive, right? That's very expensive. So, but it's tough, it's tough to get away from having a price on the product. People want to see what the price is in store, right? You don't want to pick it up and then scan it, right? You want to see right away. So really, you can't get away from the fact that menu costs are just higher in store, right? So two things, right? Big data, allowing them to set the price very precisely by estimating a demand curve and maximizing profit with respect to price, but also low menu costs, right? So we can think of these as economic frictions that are reduced. So search costs are lowered, search costs for businesses trying to find partners, but also search costs for consumers trying to find products. So e-commerce has reduced all of these search costs. E-commerce has also reduced menu costs, right? Prices can be adjusted quickly online. And e-commerce has reduced kind of margins. You don't need to sell through a retailer if you don't want to anymore. I mean, there's definitely advantages to doing it, but you can fairly straightforward way sell it on your own, right? So when I say economic frictions, what does that mean? What is an economic friction? It's something that impedes the efficient functioning of the market. So it's something that prevents valuable trade from occurring. An economic friction could be, I'm willing to buy this product and your cost is such that you could make a profit from selling it to me, but for whatever reason, we don't end up trading, right? So some frictions are like search costs, right? If only I knew you had this product at that price, I would buy it from you, but it's just too much cost for me to try to find it, right? Online, those costs have gone way, way down, right? So it's an economic friction that's been reduced. Right? Menu costs. I would like to buy this product from you, and if you could change the price, you'd be willing to sell it to me. But the fact is, it's just not worth it to you to change the price. It's too expensive. So we don't end up buying and selling, right? No value is exchanged there. This is what I mean by economic frictions, things that prevent trade from happening. And these are kind of the ways that e-commerce reduces those frictions. So e-commerce is a powerful way of kind of reducing frictions and costs. And here we see an article about Amazon, rather about Whole Foods. So Whole Foods is a grocery store, and they were purchased by Amazon. So on the left, we see a receipt for a shopping trip at Whole Foods before Amazon, and it's $28. And on the right, we see a receipt for a shopping trip at Whole Foods after Amazon bought Whole Foods. And we see the price of everything's gone down, right? Everything's cheaper now. So that's nice. So why did this happen? Well, we think about Amazon, we think about, a big e-commerce company. Were they able to somehow reduce some friction, right? Some disintermediation they were able to do. So the answer is, with e-commerce, it's not always about reducing a friction. It's just that Amazon is really, really big. So when Amazon negotiates with the suppliers who were previously negotiating with Whole Foods, but now they're dealing with Amazon, well, Amazon can negotiate a better price, right? And so they do, right? So digital companies often place a huge emphasis on scale, right? Because of network effects, like we talked about last class. But scale also has power to basically let you negotiate better, right? So scale also matters to keep costs low. So speaking of scale, here's a screen cap from a mobile game. Does anyone remember this mobile game? Does this look familiar to anyone? Yeah, so this is one of the Candy Crush games, right? Candy Crush. It's one of the most successful games ever. It's almost 3 billion downloads. Does anyone want to guess how many people are still playing Candy Crush in the first quarter of 2021? How many kind of active monthly users? Okay, Helen says a billion. This one says millions. Yeah, so it's somewhere in the middle. It's 255 million. So a quarter of a billion people are still actively playing Candy Crush. And they're making about $600 million in revenue every quarter, right? So about $2.4 billion per year. So Candy Crush, how do they make all their money? What's their business model? Do you have to pay for this game? Yeah, so Jeremy says in-app purchases. So it's free to play, so you don't pay for the game, but you pay inside the game for small items, right? In-app purchases, things that help you win, things that make the game look better. There's also some advertising in game, right? So that's how they make money as well, by selling to advertisers. But with microtransactions, with these add-ons, they can be only a few cents, right? So you pay only a few cents to get maybe like, I don't know, a couple of coins or whatever in Candy Crush, right? Which will allow you to buy something in game. How do they make a business model where they sell things for only a few cents at a time? Well, it's because these things cost them nothing to make, right? So things that you buy in game, there was a fixed cost, right? The developer needed to program in this feature, but once that's done, they can give it to you at zero cost, but they don't. They sell it to you for a very low cost, right? So these add-ons are zero marginal cost, but very high fixed costs. So in order to be profitable, they need scale, right? They need to sell a lot of these things, a lot of these little add-ons in game. And they also need minimal distribution costs, right? Which is good because online things cost almost nothing to send from one person to another, right? So this is a business model that can only work online, that can only work with a huge scale, right? So this is kind of another feature of e-commerce, right? The fact is that e-commerce companies tend to get really big, really fast. And part of them rely on that as part of their business model. Okay. What else is different about e-commerce? Almost all data is recorded, right? It's very, very cheap to store data these days. So companies do it, and they'll record data about your browsing history, about your search history, about everything you're doing online, right? And in apps. So when all data is recorded, then you can target very differentiated segments based on their past behavior, right? So behavioral segmentation, right? One of them was occasions-based, where someone who searched for something or someone who's had a sequence of searches for something, we think, okay, this person's ready to buy. Let me start advertising to them, right? And we can segment based on those very, very fine differences, right? Good. So that's kind of one benefit of big data in e-commerce, the targeting and the advertising, right? What's another benefit of like cheap storage and big data in e-commerce? So here's an app that you download it and it's like a chatbot. So you talk to it and it'll start talking back to you. There's no ads on this, at least at the time I took this screen cap, and it's free to use, right? So free to use and no ads, and there's no microtransactions, right? The way that this company can make money is by selling data to advertisers, right? Not to advertise to you on this app, but to advertise to you on other things, right? So the app is tracking who you are, and it's able to share that information. So when you go use another app or when you kind of browse on the internet, the advertisers will know, oh, this person's been talking to their chatbot about, listening to music, right? Let me advertise some headphones to them, right? Let me advertise House of Marley. So the firm can sell data to advertisers. So that's kind of a classic business model online. Or you can sell the data to companies that use data as an input into their products, right? So if you go online to most big companies these days, for instance, when I went to Bell this morning, here's what I saw in the bottom right, popping up almost immediately. Hi there, I'm Bell's virtual assistant, right? So chatbots, virtual assistants on company websites, right? And what these chatbots want to do is they want to be able to talk to you naturally, right? And so they like to buy data of conversations, of natural conversations, like the one you're having with your chatbot, to train, to get better, to kind of be more natural, more human-like, right? So let's kind of summarize these things, the key features of e-commerce. We have lower economic frictions, key thing being lower search costs for both consumers and firms. We have lower menu and distribution costs for firms, and we have lower communication costs. We have basically zero marginal costs for digital products, which allows kind of business models where you have a huge scale and you kind of can sell things for pennies to be viable. And then you also have this sort of cheap and plentiful data that you can use to improve segmentation, to choose your pricing, to choose your promotion, or that you can kind of use to create entirely new business models, right? So when we think about what e-commerce has done over the last, say, 20 years, or more like 25 years, people talk about it sort of creating a new economy. And that's kind of true to an extent. What it's really done, though, is it's lowered some costs, right? Which has made new business models viable. Or it's reallocated the economic kind of share from retail stores to disintermediated stores, right? There's always been disintermediated products like Land's End, right? But now the balance has started to shift more in favor of disintermediated stores because these features of e-commerce make it more of a viable business model, right? So you shouldn't think of e-commerce as having kind of created a new economy, but more it's kind of rebalanced the old economy by changing the costs of particular things, by making some things more attractive than they used to be. Okay, so that's e-commerce. E-commerce is kind of old news, right? What's nice now is m-commerce, right? Which is e-commerce that people conduct on their mobile phones, right? So mobile commerce. So when we think about m-commerce, if we think about, okay, I want to have an app on a mobile phone, or I want my target segment of customers to be mostly accessing my product through their phones. What are the differences between kind of those people versus people accessing your product just through their computers or through their tablet, right? So we know that in general, e-commerce lowers search costs for consumers. And we also know that the internet helps you overcome geographic isolation, right? It allows you to shop at places that are very, very far away from you very easily. And the product gets shipped to you or you get it electronically, right? So the internet helps overcome geographic isolation and lowers search costs. Are these things still true in m-commerce, right? For a mobile phone, how much of these benefits of e-commerce carry over, right? Or how much are they kind of increased? Is it even better on a phone? So let's take a look. Here we have two screen caps. On the left, I searched for a French press on Google on my phone, and on the right, I searched for a French press on Google on my PC. Same search. What are the main differences between these two screen caps? What's changed when I make the same search for mobile when I go to PC? Jingy says different ads. Good. So slightly different set of products on Google on the PC, right? PC has more information, right? So there's more stuff, there's more options on the PC, right? Screen is bigger. John says different sponsored. Yanfei says more products, right? And there's no price in the mobile version, right? So less information. They're not even giving the price. PC is all Best Buy. I think those are the sponsored ones on top, but then below that, you also have Amazon and stuff. On mobile, we only have sponsored products, right? On the first screen. So kind of what we have here is there's just in general less information on the mobile products or on the mobile screen, right? I don't see prices. I only see a few options. They're all sponsored options, right? Now I could scroll down on my mobile phone, right? I could see what else is down there, but that's suddenly a tiny little bit of extra effort, right? I need to look a little bit harder on the mobile phone. So, okay, I've shown you that there's these differences in display, but do they actually matter? So when we think about do they matter, well, we can think about these search results and say, if I move a link up in the ranking, how much more likely is someone to click on it, right? And on a PC, that's about 25%. If I move up by one rank, people are 25% more likely to click on it, right? It's closer to the top of the screen. On mobile, that's about half again as much, right? 37%. So when something moves up on a mobile, I'm much more likely to click on it. And when it moves down on mobile, I'm much less likely to click on it, right? So what does that mean? It means that that cost of scrolling down on the mobile phone is high enough that I'm just a lot less likely to click on it, right? The search cost has gone up a little bit, but it's gone up enough that I'm less likely to choose some of those further down options, right? So when we think about search costs, searching for products, searching for information, offline is still the highest, but mobile is definitely higher than on your PC or on your tablet, right? Even just the fact of having that small screen makes it so that your search cost has gone up, right? So if you're thinking, okay, I want to target mobile users, you need to make really sure that you're reducing your search cost for them as much as possible. So sponsored ads or search engine optimization to get your link to the very top of that list will pay off a lot more on mobile. On PC, it's a bit less important. Okay, what else? So mobile phones, you take them with you, right? You can travel with them, right, and walk around. So does the mobility of your mobile users matter, right? So again, you could say, all right, if a store is closer, how much more likely are you to shop there if you're kind of browsing on your PC? And we can see that if a store is 1 mile closer on your PC, the odds of clicking go up by about 12%. So closer stores get more business. For mobile, that's about double, right? So on mobile, if something's 1 mile closer, you're much more likely to click on it, right? So what does this mean? You know, for a PC, as something gets further away, it's true you're less likely to click on it. But for mobile, that drop off is very, very sharp, right? People are not clicking on things that are far away from them when they're browsing on mobile. And so why is distance? Distance is more costly on mobile, right? When we think about mobile distance costs, they're higher than PC distance costs. Both of them are still higher than offline, right? It's still the hardest thing to kind of like travel physically to go to a new store. You're least likely to do that. But mobile is definitely more expensive in terms of distance. So these two key features of e-commerce, search costs are lower and distance costs are lower, are not really, they're kind of attenuated. They're dampened for mobile phones, right? Search costs are a bit higher. Distance costs are a bit higher, right? People are less likely to get something from far away. People are more likely to click on the top link, right? So these are things you kind of need to keep in mind when you're thinking about your targeting strategy, right? If you really are going for mobile phone users. All right, so in kind of the last part of the lecture, we'll come back to these companies that I identified in the break, or that you identified. And these are all examples of what are called platforms, which we've mentioned before. Right? Just recall, a platform is a place that facilitates interaction between two groups that are interested in trading with each other. Right? So Uber, they have riders and drivers. So this should say LinkedIn, but LinkedIn, you have people who are looking for jobs, and then you have employers who are looking for people to fill positions, right? So for people who use it as kind of a recruiting tool, LinkedIn is a platform. MasterCard, you have people who want to buy stuff, people who want to sell stuff, right? And MasterCard gives a way for them to interact, right, with this credit card. So what are the key features of a platform? The main feature is a platform does not own the content of the sellers who are on that platform, right? They don't own the content. They need to attract the content, right? And typically those content creators will sell directly to consumers on the platform, right? A platform will also usually have some other features. So there'll be at least two sides that want to interact. There'll be the kind of indirect network effects we talked about last class. And there'll typically be a complex payment structure where the platform charges buyers, the platform also charges sellers, and then buyers and sellers interact with each other, and there's a price there too, right? And just to recall, what were indirect network effects? That's the phenomenon where if there's more buyers, then sellers find it more attractive to use that platform because they can reach a lot of buyers. And if there's more sellers, then buyers find it more attractive to use that platform because they can shop from a lot of options, right? So the more buyers there are, the more sellers there will be. The more sellers there are, the more buyers there will be. And that's what this is, right? You can contrast that to a direct network effect. Direct network effect, there's no two sides. There's just one side. There's just one big group of people. The more people use it, the better it is to use it, right? Like social media. Indirect network effects tend to lead to what's called a chicken egg problem. Buyers only want to get on the platform if there's lots of sellers. Sellers only want to get on the platform if there's lots of buyers. So especially in the beginning, if you have a platform that you're trying to get started, typically you're going to be losing a lot of money while you attract buyers and sellers to get on the platform. Okay, so let's kind of go through a few examples to clarify like what is a platform, and keep in mind the features of a platform. So let's kind of revisit those. They don't own the seller's content. They have at least two sides that want to interact. And there's kind of indirect network effects and maybe this complex payment structure, right? So let's look at the first example. So we have the PlayStation 5, right? So PlayStation 5 is a gaming console. And we want to know, is this a platform or is this not a platform? So everyone says platform. Yeah, I agree, right? Why a platform? Right? They don't own the content, right? The game maker, the game developer sells the content directly to the consumer. And there's two sides that want to interact, right? Game creators and people who want to play games. So if PlayStation makes its own content, then insofar as that's kind of like really important, then they're a bit less of a platform. But I think as far as I know, PlayStation doesn't really make their own games for the console, right? They rely on the developers. So for PlayStation, when you say, Xiaochen asks, are they also a seller? So PlayStation, they sell the product, they sell the game console to consumers, but that is the platform that they're selling, right? You have to pay for that. And we'll talk about what kind of pricing structure that is in a few slides. All right, what about Coursera? Platform, yeah. What are the two sides? Okay, so for those of you who don't know what this website is, they host courses which can charge students directly. So they have course content and then they have students. So some courses are for free, some students you pay, or some courses you pay for. Universities are the typically ones who post the courses. So, you know, universities only want to post if there's students using this platform and vice versa. Okay. And Coursera does not own that content, right? The universities do. All right, what about this top photo, Toronto Bike Share? So you have these different stations around the city where you can rent one of these bikes and bike it around and you return it to one of these docking stations. Platform or not? So I'm seeing mostly no's. Yeah, and I would agree with that. Why? They own the content, right? The content is the bikes. So they're, you know, the city of Toronto owns the bikes and they own the bike stations. They're not trying to attract bikes to the system. They have all the bikes already, right? So they own the content, so not a platform. Okay, St. Lawrence Market is kind of a shopping mall situation. So we've already talked about that last class. So I won't go over again that it is indeed a platform. All right, now let's look at the final two options. We have UTM in the upper photo. So University of Toronto, Mississauga. Platform or no? Not a platform. Why not? They kind of, who's the content creators at UTM, right? You have like professors and the teachers, right? So they create the content, but the university kind of owns the content, right? You don't pay the professor directly, you pay the university, and the university pays the salary of the teacher, right? So there's two sides, but unlike Coursera, you know, it's not like the platform is facilitating a direct exchange between the buyer and the seller. The school hires professors, right? They own the content, right? And Netflix, you know, kind of, they used to be a platform. They needed to attract, you know, TV shows. But even then you weren't paying the TV show directly. So this should kind of change. Netflix was never really a platform. They used to license content, but now they mostly develop their own. But that's just kind of two different kinds of ownership. So in the last 5 minutes, we'll talk about platform pricing. So a platform facilitates exchange between two sides, but they also charge prices themselves, right? So they have kind of two pricing tools for each side of the market. There's access fees, and then there's usage fees. Like we talked about last class, typically what you want to try to do is charge a low price to the more price sensitive side of the market to attract them. And if you can attract that price sensitive side of the market with very low prices, then maybe you can charge a high price to the more price insensitive part of the market, right? That's kind of the best we have for platform pricing right now. It's a very hard problem to solve. How do you optimally price? Especially once you introduce these two kinds of options, access fees and usage fees, right? So let's think about some of the platforms we've identified. So the credit card, CIBC's Visa card, is there an access fee? What is an access fee? It's a fee like with the two-part tariff, right? I need to pay it just to get in. And for a fancy credit card, there is that fee, right? Every year you have to pay the credit card fee of, $100, $150. But that's only for buyers. There's no usage fee for us. In fact, when we use the card, we typically get money back. So there's almost like a negative usage fee, right? For sellers, there's no access fee, right? If I am a retailer and I choose to accept a MasterCard or a Visa, I don't have to pay a fixed fee to Visa, but every time I accept the card, I do need to pay a percentage of the transaction, right? So sellers pay fees on the usage end, right? So that's kind of one situation. Uber Eats, there's no access fees for either side, but there's usage fees for both sides, right? Restaurants and people who order from them are kind of both paying this fee to Uber Eats, right? Versus the PlayStation, we can see that there's an access fee, right? And this goes to the earlier question, right? Is PlayStation kind of also a seller, right? I think, yeah, Xiao Chen asked, is like PlayStation's a platform, but also a seller. So they're selling their platform, they're charging an access fee, right? They're like, you need to pay $600 or whatever it is to get the PlayStation if you're a consumer, right? That's the access fee that they're charging. They're still a platform. This is just the pricing structure they've decided on, right? Sellers get support. So sellers get support to develop games, right? And no usage fees. So platform pricing is challenging. You should keep that rule of thumb in mind. A lot of it will depend on the context, and for platforms, here we have a quote from Jack Ma, who founded Alibaba. Platforms benefit, and what he's saying is basically like he made nothing in the beginning. He was basically subsidizing his customers, right? So he was making no money in order to allow his company to grow big. But once it did grow big, because of the platform nature of Alibaba, it then became kind of more valuable for both sides, and he was able to start charging, right? So platforms benefit from size. What's the best way to grow? That's kind of an open question. So if you're doing a platform for your project, how you think about your prices and how you think about your channel choices, right? It's still a bit of a challenge. So you're going to make some choices that you'll just have to say, this is kind of the choice that I made based on the context, based on my own research. This is what I think is the right thing to do. Okay, perfect. So that's it for this week. Next class, we'll be doing our final P, which is promotion. Class after that, we're going to be doing kind of a case study and review class. And so then the class after that will be the start of presentations. So starting November 25th, you'll have your first presentations. So I'll talk more about that next week. So yeah, in the meantime, if you want to come to office hours, 4 to 6 p.m. on Mondays. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week.